Shabbat Shalom, my heroes and Hebrews. This is Oil-Filled Disciple, hanging out on this beautiful morning here on the river. We're going to do things a little different this morning, and we'll kind of continue this on. When I first initially started doing the our daily bread, I was also doing a hanging with the prophets, and it just wasn't working out. I mean, it didn't matter what I did. I could not get the prophets to, every now and again, I'd get a video through. So I finally just quit on that, and I allowed the Holy Spirit to lead me and guide me in that. And praying this morning, I kind of felt like on Shabbat, we'll do hanging with the prophets on Shabbat. And so we'll start doing that. We got through a couple of the minor prophets along with Isaiah. But we're going to start off in Amos because we done read Joel and all them. So Amos chapter 1, it's got 8 chapters. We're going to try to get through it. We're going to read through it. Very limited commentary unless the Holy Spirit gives me otherwise. And so I hope it'll bless you, encourage you, and always frustrate you. Go look this up for yourself. Shabbat Shalom, y'all. I'm going to turn the camera around so y'all can see this river. Let's see here. I'm gonna try to get through it. Sorry, I'm trying to get this right. Kind of makeshift out here. That'll work. We'll go with that. All right. Get y'all's Bibles. I hope you are already there. If not, pause the video and get to Amos. And we're going to try to get through this whole book. I believe that whenever we read books in one setting, it brings in great content or context along with the content.
Amen.
Gotta have my coffee for fee. We made coffee this morning on the percolator. It's a blessing to have. Takes a little while longer than the automatic maker we have at home.
It was awesome to wake up this morning under the stars. And
oh yeah, we woke up at like 4:30.
the fresh wind. And
Air mattress didn't make it, so we wound up sleeping on the sand. It was great.
which, let me say, y'all, it starts off soft and ends up a rock.
Yeah. All right, Amos 1. The words of Amos, who was among the herdsmen of Tekoa, which he saw concerning Israel in the days of Uzziah, sovereign of Yehuda, and in the days of Jeroboam, son of Joash, sovereign of Israel, 2 years before the earthquake. And he said, Yahweh roars from Zion, and gives forth his voice from Jerusalem, and the pastors of the shepherds shall mourn, and the top of Carmel shall wither. Thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Damascus, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because they threshed Gilead with threshing implements of iron. But I shall send fire upon the house of Hazael, and I shall consume the palaces of Ben-Hadad. And I shall break the bar of Damascus, and cut off the inhabitant from the valley of Awen. And the one who holds the scepter from Beth Eden, and the people of Aram shall go exile to Kir, said Yahweh. Remember, whenever we're reading something and it said, thus say Yahweh, it's a done deal. Thus said Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Asa, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because they took into exile, an entire exile, to surrender it to Edom. But I shall send fire upon the wall of Asa, and it shall consume its palaces. And I shall cut off the inhabitant from Ashdod, and the one who holds the scepter from Ashkelon. And I shall turn my hand against Ekron, and the remnant of the Philistines shall perish, said the Master Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Zoar, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because they surrendered in entire exile to Edom, and did not remember the brotherly covenant. But I shall send fire upon the wall of Zoar, and it shall consume its palaces. Thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because he pursued his brother with the sword and cast off all compassion, and his displeasure tore incessantly, and he kept his wrath forever. But I shall send fire upon Teman, and it shall consume its palaces at Batra. Thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of the children of Ammon, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because they ripped open the pregnant woman in Gilead to enlarge their border. So I shall kindle a fire upon the wall of Rabbah, and it shall consume its palaces with a shout in the day of battle, with a storm in the day of the whirlwind. And their sovereign shall go into exile, he and his heads together, said Yahweh. This is a good chapter to go and break down verse by verse of each of these nations that God is bringing judgment to. Check out why, what for, how, all that good stuff. Real good study. Chapter 2. Thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Moab, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because he burned the bones of the sovereign of Edom to lime. But I shall send fire upon Moab, and it shall consume the palaces of Keroth, and Moab shall die amid uproar, with a cry and with the voice of a shofar. And I shall cut off the judge from its midst, and kill all its heads with him, said Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Yehuda, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because they have rejected the Torah of Yahweh, and did not guard his laws, and their lies, after which their fathers walked, lead them astray.
That's us.
Bingo, bango, bongo, right here today. But I shall send fire upon Yehuda, it shall consume the palaces of Jerusalem. Thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Israel, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because they sell the righteous for silver, and poor for a pair of sandals, who crush the head of the poor ones in the dust of the earth, and turn aside the way of the meek. And a man and his father go in the same, girl to defile my set-apart name. And a man and his father go into the same girl to defile my set-apart name. Rampant sex. Rampant sex. That seems to get a lot of nations. It's sure getting ours today. Verse 8.
And the meat. That's us too.
Yep. And they lie down by every slaughter place on garments taken in pledge, in the house of their mighty one they drink the wine of those who have been fined. Yet I destroyed the Amorite before them, whose height was like the height of the cedars, and he was as strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit from above, and his roots from beneath. And I brought you up from the land of Mitzrayim, and led you 40 years through the wilderness, to possess the land of the Amorite. I raised up some of your sons as prophets, and some of your young men as Nazirites. Not so, O you children of Israel, declares Yahweh. But you made the Nazirites drink wine, and commanded the prophets, saying, do not prophesy. See, I am weighed down by you, as a wagon is weighed down when filled with sheaves. And a place to flee shall perish from the swift, and the strong not fortify his power, and the mighty not save his life. And he who handles the bow not stand, and the swift of foot not save, nor he who rides a horse save his life. And the one potent of his heart among the mighty flee naked in the day, declares Yahweh.
That's us men not standing up.
Fleeing naked is your sins are brought to light. Chapter 3. Hear this word that Yahweh has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the entire clan, which I brought up from the land of Mitzrayim, saying, okay, the entire clan, that's the 12 tribes. It's all of them. You alone have I known of all the clans of the earth. Therefore I punish you for all your crookedness. Would 2 walk together without having met? Does a lion roar in the forest when he has no prey? Does a young lion give forth his voice out of his den unless he has caught? Does a bird fall into a snare in the earth where there is no trap for it? Does a snare spring up from the earth if it has no captured prey? If a shofar is blown in the city, do people not tremble? If there is calamity in the city, shall not Yahweh have done it? We have problems around our culture, around our world, our nation. Is it not Yahweh? Or are we giving the enemy, the devil, the credit? Come on now. It's all Yahweh. Verse 7, for the Master Yahweh does not matter unless he reveals his secret to his servants, the prophets. Let me read it again. For the Master Yahweh does no matter unless he reveals his secret to his servants, the prophets. Everything we need to know is right here in this book. His prophets have told and said it. Yahweh's not going to come up out of the blue and trick us with something. The enemy is going to try to trick us. That's why we must know this word. Verse 8, a lion has roared, who is not afraid? The Master Yahweh has spoken, who would not prophesy? Cry out at the palaces in Ashdod, and at the palaces in the land of Mitzrayim, and say, gather on the mountains of Shomeron, and see the many unrests in her midst, and the oppressed ones within her. Shomeron is Samaria. But they do not know to do what is right, declares Yahweh, those who store up plunder and loot in their palaces. Therefore thus saith the Master Yahweh, an enemy, even all around the land, and he shall bring down your strength from you, and your palaces shall be plundered. The Lord's going to send us an enemy. He's going to send a nation to kick our butts. Thus saith Yahweh, as a shepherd rescues from the mouth of a lion 2 legs or a piece of an ear, so are the children of Israel, who dwell in Shomeron, to be rescued, in the corner of a bed, in the edge of a couch. Hear the witness against the house of Jacob, declares the Master Yahweh, the Elohim of hosts. All right, that last chapter saying he's going to leave a remnant. He's not going to completely destroy Israel. He's always leaving a remnant.
What's a remnant?
A remnant, a small amount of people called unto the Lord. For in the day I visit Israel for their transgressions, I shall also punish concerning their slaughter places of Bethel. And the horns of the slaughter place shall be broken, and they shall fall to the ground. I shall strike the winter house along with the summer house. And the houses of ivory shall perish, and the great houses shall be swept away, declares Yahweh. Hear this word, you cows of Bashan, who are on the mountain of Shomeron, who are oppressing the poor, who are crushing the needy, who are saying to their masters, bring wine, let us drink. The Master Yahweh has sworn by his set apartness. See, days are coming upon you when he shall take you away with hooks, and your descendants with fish hooks, and let you go out at the breaches, each woman before her, and you shall be cast out toward Harmon, declares Yahweh. Come to Bethel and transgress to Gilgal, increase transgression, and bring your slaughterings every morning, your tithes every 3 days, and burn an offering of thanksgiving with leaven. Proclaim voluntary offerings loudly, for you have loved this, you children of Israel, declares Master Yahweh. Vain offerings. Same thing got Cain in trouble. Verse 6, and I also gave you cleanliness of teeth in your cities, lack of bread in all your places. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yahweh. He completely broke them off and broke them down, yet they still would not come back to the Lord. Don't let that be you. And I also withheld rain from you 3 new moons before the harvest. That's 3 months. Then I would send rain on one city, and on another city I would not send rain. One part was rained upon, where it did not rain, the part would dry up. Then 2 or 3 cities would wander to another city to drink water, but they were not satisfied. But you do not turn back to me, declares Master Yahweh. He increases the tribulation, the harder headed we are. I had to go through quite a bit of tribulation because of it. I have stricken you with blight and with mildew. The creeping locust devoured your many gardens, and your vineyards, and your fig trees, and your olive trees. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yahweh. I have sent among you a plague in the way of Mitzrayim. I have killed your young men with the sword, along with your captured horses, and I made the stench of your camps come up into your nostrils. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yahweh. I have overthrown some of you, as Elohim overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, and you were like a burning stick plucked from the burning. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yahweh. Therefore I am doing this to you, O Israel, and because I do this to you, prepare to meet your Elohim, O Israel. Prepare to die in the flesh and meet the Most High Yahweh as you bow, as you fall on your face at judgment. Dang, wind's starting to try to pick up. Sorry about that, guys. Therefore I am doing this to you, O Israel, and because I do this to you, prepare to meet your Elohim, O Israel. For look, he who forms mountains and creates the wind, and who declares to man what his thought is, and makes the morning darkness, and who treads the high places of the earth. Yahweh, Elohim of hosts is his name. We better get to realizing that we must fear the Lord with a true fear, not this pansy-ass, it's a reverent fear. It's not really fearing, Lord. Yes, it is. It's be afraid. Be very afraid. I see those comments or shirts, bumper stickers. Only God can judge me. That should scare the living hell out of you. Chapter 5. Hear this word which I take up against you, this lamentation, O house of Israel. The maiden of Israel has fallen, not to rise again. She lies forsaken on her land, with no one to lift her up. For thus saith Master Yahweh, the city that goes out by 1,000 has 100 left, and that which goes out by 100 has 10 left, to the house of Israel. For thus saith Yahweh to the house of Israel, seek me and live. 1,000 go out and only 100 left. 100 goes out and only 10 left. That's 10%. He's leaving a remnant. Now seek me and live, he says. I've let you guys live. I've spared you. You better turn back to me. That's what Yahweh's saying. But do not seek Bethel, nor enter Gilgal, nor pass over to Beersheba, for Gilgal shall certainly go into exile, and Bethel become a non-entity. Seek Yahweh and live, lest he break out like fire upon the house of Joseph, and shall consume it, with no one to quench it in Bethel. O you who are turning right ruling into wormwood, and have cast down righteousness to the earth. He who made Kemah and Kissel, and who turns the shadow of death into morning, and darkened day into night, who is calling for the waters of the sea, and pours them out on the face of the earth. Yahweh is his name. Who is flashing forth destruction upon the strong, so that destruction comes upon the stronghold. They hated the one who reproves in the gate, and they despised the one who speaks the truth. Well, ain't that just fine and dandy?
Truth. Ain't that just the truth?
Therefore, because you trample on the poor and take grain taxes from him, you have built houses of hewn stone, but you are not going to dwell in them. You have planted pleasant vineyards, but not drink wine from them. For I know your transgressions are many, and your sins are great, afflicting the righteous and accepting bribes, and turning aside the poor at the gate. Therefore the wise keep silent at the time, for it is an evil time. Seek good and not evil, so that you live. I take that, and I haven't studied it out, but I'm going to take that almost at face value there. The wise keep silent. Silence is consent. If you don't say nothing about something wrong, you consent to it.
He said, seek me and live, or seek good.
Seek good, not evil,
times in that chapter.
so that you live. Seek good. What is good?
Oh,
Yahweh's law.
this chapter's not over yet, but he's already said it 3 times.
Yep. And let Yahweh, Elohim of hosts, be with you as you have spoken. Hate evil and love good. I'll tell you what, y'all, I'm going to stop right there. A couple of years ago, I prayed and I asked God to show me what sin was like. I asked him to give me an understanding of how he hates sin. I prayed that. Get ready for the ride when you pray that. He's going to show you. But it's only from what I got out of it, I knew at the end of the fire that he did not show me the full understanding and hatred he has towards sin. Sin is transgression of the law. 1 John 3:4. Hate evil and love good and set upright ruling in the gate. It might be that Yahweh, Elohim of hosts, shows favor to the remnant of Joseph. Therefore, Yahweh, Elohim of hosts, Yahweh said this: there is wailing in all open squares, and in all the streets they say, alas, alas, and shall call the former to the mourning, and skilled lamenters to wailing. Now, skilled lamenters, people of this culture have people that go around to families that have died and literally wail and cry out to the Lord. That's their job. How would you like to have that one? And in all the vineyards there is wailing, for I passed through your midst, said Yahweh. Woe to you who are longing for the day of Yahweh. What does the day of Yahweh mean to you? It is darkness and not light. I've had to come to that understanding, and it drives me crazy when people say, I can't wait till Jesus comes back. Okay, that's going to be glorious, but it's going to be the worst thing on humankind, because that is the day that many will be judged into eternal hell. What does the day of the Lord mean to you? Woe to you longing for the day of Yahweh. What does the day of Yahweh mean to you? It is darkness and not light. As a man flees from a lion, and a bear shall meet him, or entered his house, rested his hand on the wall, and the serpent bite him. Is not the day of Yahweh darkness and not light? Is it not very dark with no brightness in it? I have hated, I have despised your festivals, and I am not pleased with your assemblies. If Amos ain't talking to this generation today, I don't know what else, which one he would be talking to. All of them, all generations. I hated and despised your festivals. God hates Christmas. He hates Easter. He hates Halloween. He's called us unto his Moedim, his feast days, to keep them and guard them. 22, though you offer me ascending offerings and your grain offerings, I do not accept them, nor do I look on your fatted peace offerings. Take away from me the noise of your songs, and I do not hear the sound of your stringed instruments. You can praise him all you want in futility, in vain. He ain't hearing it. Let right ruling roll on like water, and righteousness like a mighty stream. You brought me slaughterings and meal offerings in the wilderness for 40 years, O house of Israel. But you took up Sekuth, your sovereign, and Kayun, your idols, your astral mighty ones, which you made for yourselves. Therefore I shall send you into exile beyond Damascus, said Yahweh, Elohim of hosts, his name. Woe to those at ease in Zion. This is chapter 6, verse 1. Woe to those at ease in Zion, and those trusting in Mount Shomeron, the disgusting ones among the chief of the nations, to whom the house of Israel comes. Pass over to Kilnah and see, and from there go to Hamath the great. Then go down to Gath of the Philistines. Are you better than these reigns? Or is their border greater than your border? You who are putting off the day of evil, yet bring near the seat of violence, who are laying on beds of ivory and are stretched out on your couches, and are eating lambs from the flock and calves from the midst of the stall, who are singing the sound of the harp, having composed songs for themselves like David. who are drinking wine from bowls and anoint with the finest ointments. Yet they have not been pained over the breach of Joseph. Therefore they shall now go into exile with the first of the exiles, and the feasting of the stretched out ones shall cease. The Master Yahweh has sworn by himself. Yahweh Elohim of hosts declares, I am loathing the pride of Jacob, and I have hated his palaces. Therefore I shall deliver up the city and all that is in it. And it shall be that if 10 men remain in one house, they shall die. If an uncle or his undertaker brings the remains out of the house, he shall say to the one inside the house, is anyone with you? And he says, no. Then he shall say, hush, for we have not remembered the name of Yahweh. For look, Yahweh is commanding, and he shall strike the great house with breaches, and the little house with clefts. Do horses run on a rock? Does one plow it with an oxen? For you have turned right ruling to poison, and the fruit of righteousness to wormwood. You who are rejoicing over a matter of naught, who say, have we not taken horns for ourselves by our own strength? For look, I'm raising up a nation against you, O house of Israel, declares Yahweh Elohim of hosts, and they shall oppress you from the entrance of Hamath to the Wadi Araba. We get all puffed up that we've done it. Look what I've done. You wicked, deceiving TBN pastors. You need to read that chapter.
Pastors.
This is what the Master Yahweh showed me. And see, he was forming locust swarms at the beginning of the late crop. And see, it was the late crop after the mowings of the sovereign. Okay, we're chapter 7, verse 1. Now verse 2. It came to be when they had finished eating the grass of the land that I said, O Master Yahweh, forgive, I pray. How does Jacob survive? For he is small. Yahweh relented concerning this. It shall not be, said Yahweh. This is what the Master Yahweh showed me. And see, the Master Yahweh was calling to contend by fire, and it consumed the great deep, and it did consume the portion. And I said, O Master Yahweh, please stop. How does Jacob survive? For he is small. Yahweh relented concerning this. This shall not be either, said the Master Yahweh. This is what he showed me. And see, Yahweh stood on a wall, made with a plumb line, with a plumb line in his hand. And Yahweh said to me, Amos, what do you see? I said, a plumb line. And Yahweh said, see, I am setting a plumb line in the midst of my people Israel. No longer do I pardon them. Plumb line means it's got to be straight, perfect, right on target. Not leaning to the right, not leaning to the left. Completely straight and focused on Yeshua Messiah. Any other thing,
Not on the fence.
you ain't getting none. You ain't getting the glory and the blessings. Verse 9, and the high places of Yitzhak shall be laid waste, and the set apart places of Israel shall be destroyed, and I shall rise with the sword against the house of Jeroboam. Then Amaziah, the priest of Bethel, sent to Jeroboam, sovereign of Israel, saying, Amos has conspired against you in the midst of the house of Israel. The land is not able to endure all his words. For this is what Amos said. Coffee. Amos didn't say coffee. I just had to drink coffee.
It's like no more riding the fence or going back and forth, or it's either now or never. You have to pick a side. You can't.
Yeah. Following Yahweh has to be all or nothing. We got to go to the truck, put my phone on the charger. Y'all give me just a second. Okay. Yes, you can. Come on, we're almost done. Sorry, y'all. Oh. Getting old and crackly. Give me 1 minute, y'all. See the sun. All right. My love, are you coming? Okay. Well, now all my pages are finished. It's always something, y'all. Always something. I hope y'all are feeling it. All right. Verse 10. Then Amatsah, the priest of Bethel, sent to Jeroboam, sovereign of Israel, saying, Amos has conspired against you in the midst of the house of Israel. The land is not able to endure all his words. For this is what Amos said. Jeroboam shall die by the sword, and Israel certainly be exiled from their own land. And Amaziah said to Amos, Go, you seer, flee to the land of Yehudah, and eat bread and prophesy there. But do not prophesy any more at Bethel, for it is the sovereign's set-apart place, and it is the house of rain. Kind of like we was reading in Joseph yesterday, bad news. We don't want nobody bringing us bad news. We just want good news. Amos answered and said to Amaziah, I am not a prophet, nor am I a son of a prophet, for I am a herdsman and a grower of sycamore figs. But Yahweh took me from behind the flock, and Yahweh said to me, Go, prophesy to my people Israel. And now, hear the word of Yahweh. Verse 16, chapter 7. And now, hear the word of Yahweh. You are saying, Do not prophesy against Israel, and do not drop words against the house of Yitzhak. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, Your wife shall become a whore in the city, and your sons and daughters fall by the sword, and your land be divided by a measuring line. And you die in a defiled land, and Israel shall certainly be exiled from its land. Chapter 8. This is what the Master Yahweh showed me, and see, a basket of summer fruit. And he said, Amos, what do you see? I said, a basket of summer fruit. Yahweh said to me, The end has come upon my people Israel. No longer do I pardon them. And the songs of the Hekel, the temple, shall be wailing in the day, declares the Master Yahweh. Many dead bodies everywhere, thrown into any place. Hush! Hear this, you who are swallowing up the needy, to do away with the poor of the land, saying, When does the new moon pass, so that we sell grain, and the Sabbath, so that we trade our wheat, to make the ephah small, and the shekel large, and to falsify the scales by deceit?
See, that's what the Lord does to us. Amos says, I'm not a prophet. I'm a herdsman. The Lord, when He calls you, He takes you and He makes you into what He needs you to be.
Absolutely. Amos is showing humility. But that last chapter we just read, we really need to take heed to that, because that is a direct warning not to work on the Sabbath. Doesn't matter if you got to make money or not. Do not work on the Sabbath.
Oh man, I lost my pencil. You got a pencil in there?
I got a pen.
No, I got a pen.
I got a pencil. Right. Hang on. Yeah, right here. Bear with us this morning, y'all. Here you go.
Oh, thank you.
Verse 6. Okay, they falsify the scales. They make it an unequal balance. To buy the poor for silver and the needy for a pair of sandals, and sell the chaff of the wheat. Yahweh has sworn by the excellency of Jacob, I shall never forget any of their works. Shall the land not tremble for this, and everyone mourn who dwells in it? And all of it shall swell like the river, and heave, and subside like the river of Mitzrayim. And it shall be in that day, declares the Master Yahweh, that I shall cause the sun to go down at noon, and shall darken the earth on a day of brightness. and shall turn your festivals into mourning, and your songs to lamentation, and bring sackcloth on all your loins, and baldness on every head, and shall make it like mourning for an only son, and its end like a day of bitterness. See, days are coming, declares Master Yahweh, that I shall send hunger in the land, not a hunger for bread, nor thirst for water, but for a hearing of the word of Yahweh. Take heed to that. A famine of hearing the word of Yahweh, the true word. Jeremiah 3:15, I shall give you pastors and shepherds after mine own heart to feed my sheep, direct them. We don't have many pastors there today, so the people are actually in a famine of the word, of the truth. What is the word? It's truth. Verse 12, and they shall wander from sea to sea and from north to east, and they shall diligently search, seeking the word of Yah, but they shall not find it. As I'm coming to realize, many do not want to hear the words that Yahweh has told me to speak. The Holy Spirit. Do not want to hear the sermons of truth. But there are a few who are searching and hungry for the word of truth that are coming and listening. And Yahweh is sending them. I will not compromise this truth for any agenda of my own. Verse 13, in that day the beautiful maidens and strong young men shall faint from thirst. Those swearing by the guilt of Shomeron, who say, as your mighty one lives, O Dan, and as the way of Beersheba lives, and they shall fall and never rise again. That's why I tell y'all, go look this up for yourself. You catch me in error of something, comment, let me know. We'll look at it. We'll decide if it's wrong or not, but we'll do it in a civil matter. I'm always willing to hear somebody say, hey, look, I think you're offbeat on this one. I'll look at it. I know I'm wrong sometimes. I'm human. That's why I tell y'all, go look this up for yourself. Chapter 9. I saw Yahweh standing by the slaughter place, and he said, strike the column head, so that the thresholds shake, and break them off by the head, all of them. And the last of them I kill with the sword. Not one of them fleeing gets away, and not one fugitive of them escape. If they dig to Sheol, from there my hand does take them. And if they climb to the heavens, from there I bring them down. Whew. No place to hide from Yahweh. And if they hide themselves on the top of Carmel, from there I shall search and take them. And if they hide from before my eyes at the bottom of the sea, from there I shall command the serpent, and it shall bite them. You know, you think that might be our submarines? Something like it? We're going to go down to the bottom of the sea. This chaos is everywhere. Let's get the president on Air Force One and get him out of here. Ain't nowhere to hide, y'all. Verse 4, and if they go into captivity before their enemies, from there I shall command the sword, and it shall kill them, and I shall set my eyes on them for evil and not for good. Did you hear that? Yahweh just said this. I shall set my eyes on them for evil and not for good. Yahweh's evil? No, he's not. Go study that. Verse 5. And the Master Yahweh of hosts is he who touches the earth so that it melts, and all who dwell in it mourn, and all of it come up like the river and subside like the river of Mitzrayim. Okay, you guys go study that. What the Lord said, my eyes of them are set for evil and not for good. And if you don't get it and you don't understand, comment in the comment section, and I'll discuss it with you. I'll help you out. Verse 6, who is building his upper room in the heavens and has founded his firmament on the earth? Who is calling for the waters of the sea and pours them out on the face of the earth? Yahweh is his name. Are you not like the people of Cush to me, O children of Israel? Declares Yahweh. Did I not bring up Israel from the land of Mitzrayim, and the Philistines from Caphtor, and Aram from Ker? Look, the eyes of the Master Yahweh are on the sinful rain, and I shall destroy it from the face of the earth, except that I do not completely destroy the house of Jacob declares Yahweh. There's the remnant. For look, I am commanding, and I shall sift the house of Israel among all the nations, as one sifts with a sieve, yet not a grain falls to the ground. All the sinners of my people are going to die by the sword. Those who are saying, evil does not overtake us, nor meet us. Okay, here's our pre-tribulation rapture, people. Y'all got to read this word before you start opening your mouths. And that day I shall raise up the booth of David, which has fallen down, and I shall repair its breaches, and raise up its ruins, and I shall build it as in the days of old, so that they possess the remnant of Edom, and all the nations of whom my name is called, declares Yahweh, who does this. Look, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes, him who sows seed. And the mountains shall drip new wine, and all the hills melt. I shall turn back the captivity of my people Israel, and they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and drink wine from them, and shall make gardens and eat their fruit. And I shall plant them on their own soil, and not uproot them any more from their own soil. I have given them, said Yahweh, your Elohim. He's going to get us to a place where we're going to be in glory. The one who overcomes the reaper. That's the new heaven, new earth. Some of us will not taste death, he says. Then he creates the new heaven, the new earth, replants us, repairs all that is broken through sin. We don't understand that sin, one single sin of Adam, destroyed the entire creation of God. It put it in turmoil. One sin. I said destroyed. That was the wrong word. I apologize. The one thing that Adam did and Eve did was one sin. And it disturbed all of creation for all eternity. It took God incarnate of the flesh to come, be our example, but most of all be our substitute for the wrath that is deserved to all of us. The cup that Jesus did not want to drink was the cup of the wrath of the people that would accept him and deny him. How sad is that? That he took the wrath of even those who would deny him. Y'all don't deny him. Look at these scriptures for yourself. Get your household in order. If you're not following Torah, get there. If there's things you need to work on, get there. Get to work. It's important. It's imperative. Now, I hope reading that entire book in one setting kind of brought into focus where God is with his people in the whole. Because you would not do this, I brought on more calamities. Hoping, well, God don't hope, but bringing more calamities and ramping them up a little bit more to totally crush you, to make you turn to God. God has to crush you of everything of you in order for him to build you up. Like Amos said, I was a plowman. I was a herdsman. I'm not a prophet, just a simple man. That's all of us, and that should be our attitude. But we have to be crushed and broken down so we can be of the house of Israel, so we can be of Yahweh, Yeshua, Messiah. You feel me? So when you're going through these trials, don't mutter and complain. Pray that God would show you, teach you, and help you understand why the fire is building you up so you can get through the fire a little quicker. Because when you rebel against it, it's just going to get worse. Feel me? I know, because I've been there. Y'all, I hope this message blessed you, encouraged you. Oh, I hope it frustrated you. Go look this up for yourself. Shabbat Shalom, y'all. Have a blessed day. I apologize. We got down here on the river, and it's no signal down here for me to post yesterday's Our Daily Bread. So it'll get posted today. Anyway, love you all. Thank you for following me. If you're new to the channel, check out my content. If you like it, subscribe. We're 5 people away, 5 subscribers from hitting the 100 mark. When we do, I'm going to give away 1 ounce of silver in some fashion to someone. You feel? That'll be pretty cool. When we get to 200, I'll probably give 5 ounces and so forth and so on. We'll do something. I'll do giveaways. I want to get this base up where we can do live videos. We can spit the truth out. We can get this truth to as many people as we can. That's all I care about. Go into all the nations. And I'm going to use this platform to go into all nations. Y'all be blessed. Shabbat shalom. It's the oil-filled disciple, and I will catch you on the next ride.